What's going on, YouTube? This is BoxingWave. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Also follow me on Twitter and Instagram at BoxingWave10. Shout out to everybody that was here yesterday for the live commentary for all the fights that I covered yesterday. ESPN card, Showtime card, and of course the Zone. All right, the DAZN card wasn't that great of a card. Okay, it was very long, very drawn out. The fights. It seemed like every fight, each and every fight seemed to be an hour long. I know the first two pre-fights, all right, pre-fights were each an hour long, okay? We were 2 hours in and only 2 fights down. So it took a really, really long time to get these fights going, all right? But shout out to Conway. Don't know his first name, but I checked him out on one of the undercards. I believe he was the third undercard match. I liked his talent. You know, I like to see him. I'm definitely going to keep my eye on him for future fights. I was definitely impressed with his performance. Also, the biggest disappointment of the night was definitely Martin Boccoli against Sergey Kuzmin. I don't know what happened. I thought that was going to be the fight of the night on this card at least. And it wasn't. Definitely wasn't the best fight. It was actually one of the worst fights on the card, to be honest. All right. I don't know what happened between the two. But especially Martin Boccoli, it was very disappointing in his performance. You know, I just don't know what was up with his volume. His volume was very low. I just expected much more from him. And I think the fighters showed just a little too much respect for each other. You know, it was just rounds going by and there was nothing going on in that fight. And you know, I think these guys were just trying to you know, I don't know what they were doing, to be honest. I don't know, because I can't even say that they was just trying to maintain their stamina, but even in the final rounds it was just like, yo, when are these guys gonna pick up the pace? You know, outside of a couple rounds in that fight, there really wasn't much action. And I think a lot of us expected action. I really was looking forward towards this fight, but I was kind of disappointing. And I think one of the judges had a little too wide. I think Kuzmin probably won about 4 rounds in that fight. Okay? But very disappointing fight with that. Lawrence Okoli got a good knockout. I mean, it was against a replacement fighter. Because Glowacki pulled out of the fight because of COVID-19. So Okoli did what he had to do against a replacement fighter. He destroyed him, and that's what he's supposed to do. The knockdowns were pretty cool. The highlights were pretty cool of the knockdowns, I mean. But you do that. That's what you're supposed to do against an opponent at that level. You're supposed to destroy him and make a statement. All right? So you train hard. You get the job done. Now, moving forward to Anthony Joshua and Pulev. The fight was good. The performance was good. And you know what? The fight definitely went later than what I predicted. You know, I thought Joshua would get Pulev out of there within 6 rounds. All right? The fight ended up going to 9th. The 9th round. Yes, the fight could have been stopped in the 3rd round because of those 2 knockdowns, especially when Pulev turned his back twice in that round, okay, when he was hurt. But I'm actually glad the ref decided to let it continue because we got to see more of AJ. We got to see more of Pulev. Pulev did have his moments a couple times in that fight, but I'm glad the fight went on because, you know, we got to see more of a fight. You know, AJ still stopped him regardless. But we got a good fight. It was a pretty competitive fight, you know, and I like what I saw. I definitely like what I saw in both. And a lot of things that I said in a breakdown, I saw in this fight. First of all, when it comes to Pulev, really tricky fighter. Okay, we already know his jab, how good his jab is and everything like that. He always had a good jab. But I've seen improvements, and I said this in a breakdown. I've seen improvements with his defense since the loss to Klitschko. All right, he lost to Klitschko, and it wasn't much. It didn't take much for Klitschko to land big shots against him. All right, landed them really earlier than Joshua did. But part of that was because of the defense and the holes in his defense. And I think Pulev has definitely improved on that since that fight. I've seen it. Now, he didn't step to the elite level since that loss, but I definitely seen improvement in his game. I know he's older now, and I know everybody's just looking at him as an older guy, and he fought Klitschko. Klitschko stopped him, and he's older now. He's 39. But I definitely seen improvements in his game. Yes, he's older, but he's improved and matured overall as a fighter. All right, even with the defeat. Okay. Also, that right hand, and I said this too. He holds on to that right hand. He doesn't just come out throw it. Yes, that's his punch, but he just doesn't throw it. He has a good one too, but you're not going to see him continuously throwing that shot. Okay. He was watching. I don't know if you guys seen the Nakatani fight, and I'm going to speak on that in a different video. Nakatani has a good one too. That's what he's known for. You know what I'm saying? He's constantly throwing it. Whereas, the same thing with Kell Brook. That's his money punch. Pulev will hold that right hand, and he'll try to catch you when you're not expecting it. Joshua did a good job of ducking under it at times. He saw it coming at times, but he got caught with a good amount of them in this fight. And that was the punch that Pulev was really counting on. You can tell that was the punch that would change the outcome of this fight. But Joshua took the shots. He never really was hurt or anything in this fight, and whenever he did get caught, he basically tied up with Pulev. He fights. He's a very safety first fighter. He takes his chances, but he's very safety first. But shout out to Pulev, being a warrior in there, fought back, gave us a good show, good performance, and it was a good fight. Now, as far as Anthony Joshua, very good performance. I know a lot of people are always going to criticize him for something because, again, the standards are always different when it comes to him. When it comes to everybody else, they could show their flaws in a fight. You know what I'm saying? They could fight lower opposition in between their best fights. But when it comes to AJ, the standards are always different. I think some of the criticism that he receives from fighters, fans, coaches, whoever, they don't have those same standards for everybody else. You know what I'm saying? Like, only with AJ, you can hear two things within the same fight. You could say that he's being risky, like in the third round, when he went in there, stepped in, he slipped that shot, landed the right counter, hurt Pulev, all right, and started teeing off on Pulev. A lot of shots didn't land, all right? A lot of people, even the commentary, I think I heard them say something about him, possibly running out of stamina, all right, because of what happened in the Vladimir Klitschko fight, or what happened in the Andy Ruiz fight. He has to be careful he doesn't get hit with the same shot. I wasn't expecting the same shot because Pulev fights completely different from Andy Ruiz. Andy Ruiz shorter arms, but quick hands, is a hooker, likes to be in the inside. Pulev not so much. All right, so Joshua could afford to take those type of risks, but there's people that'll criticize him, saying that he's being risky by doing that, but at the same time, they say that he's not confident enough, that he's still fighting cautiously. Same thing with Teddy Atlas, who made tweets about this, saying that he's too cautious. Maybe the ghost of Andy Ruiz is still there. Which one is it? This is one fighter that no matter what he does, you're going to hear some sort of criticism from him. No matter what he does, somebody's going to complain. He's too muscular. He's too robotic, even though he showed you different ways and has adjusted to different fighters and adjusted in between fights, in the middle of fights. He always will receive some kind of criticism, which is fine in some ways, but what I'm trying to tell you guys is that the standards are different with him. He is fighting Pulev, all right, and like, this is a good fight. This is a good fighter. No, it's not Tyson Fury. It's not Deontay Wilder, you know? But he's a good fighter. He's not Alexander Usyk. All right? These are guys that people want AJ to face for the most part. But Pulev is still a top fighter. AJ can't get away with fighting guys like Berman Stavern in a rematch. You know, Gerald Washington, Chris Arreola. He can't get away with fighting a Tom Schwartz or Oscar Wallin. You know what I'm saying? He can't take those type of fights, you know, because people will destroy him. But it's cool for everybody else to take those kind of fights and struggle in those fights. Tyson Fury struggled in his fight. Deontay Wilder struggling in his fight against Glenn Washington or Gerald Washington, or struggled against Luis Ortiz, lost every round. But when it comes to AJ, it's always nitpicking type of things. He's not showing enough confidence, or he's being reckless by stepping in and throwing these combinations. He might get caught. Which one is it? I think we've seen a little bit of both. Joshua is a cautious fighter. But when the opportunity is there, he will come in and destroy you. He's just waiting for the right setup. That's all it is. It's really not that complicated. So many other fighters do it. They're just waiting for the opportunity to destroy you. You know? I think he's shown us throughout the years, I don't think he gets enough credit for his skill set. I don't think he's as skilled as Tyson Fury, but I don't think the gap is that wide between them. And I think the power is the neutralizer. I don't think the gap is that wide, though. I think Tyson Fury is more skilled, but he still gets hit. He still gets dropped. You know what I'm saying? It's not like he hasn't shown us, we haven't seen flaws in him too. But the standards are always different with AJ. And listening to guys like Carl Froch, I don't know what's up. And I love Carl Froch, but I don't know what's up with his issue. I don't know why he has such an issue with AJ. I don't know what it is, but it's probably jealousy. I'm just saying it. It's probably jealousy, but Carl Froch will always find a way to be negative. And he's been like this for a long time. You know, same thing with Lennox Lewis. He's always been negative. And I think there's some sort of jealousy there. I mean, he's a British fighter, and AJ is getting a lot more love and respect than he did. You know, and I think Lennox is a better fighter. Listen, I'm not even trying to go there and do that. I love AJ, but Lennox is a better fighter to me. You know, obviously they can never fight each other, but Lennox is a better fighter to me. But I think it's obvious that there's some jealousy there, you know? Well, AJ, I was very impressed what he did. I loved it, the way he worked his jab. All right, I think he won the jab war between him and Pulev. Pulev's jab is his greatest weapon in the ring, and Anthony Joshua won that. I think AJ won that war overall. You know, Pulev was winning at points with that jab, but overall, I think Joshua outlanded with the jab. All right, he's more consistent with the jab, and he really controlled the distance. He was just right out of Pulev's range, and Pulev he couldn't really find him for the most part. You know, I was also impressed at, especially the first round or two. I like the fact that AJ was inching really close to Pulev. There were times where he was in range and he looked very comfortable there. He wasn't worried about the jab. It was more like he was daring Pulev to shoot it so he could counter. And that's when he caught him in the third round. The third round is when he caught him with that jab. It was really nice slip and counter. And he hurt Pulev. Started landing uppercuts. You know, Pulev turned his back, but then he came back out. He got the standing 8. He was obviously hurt. He tried to laugh it off, but he was hurt. And then AJ knocked him down. Just couldn't finish him off in that round. AJ did slow down a little bit in those middle rounds. Okay, but he was probably a little gassed. And that's what experience does to you. You know how to, you know what? You know how to play it off a little bit. I think AJ was a little gassed. Okay, I don't think he was as gassed as he was in the Klitschko fight, because I think he's improved on his stamina. Okay, he's still a really, really big guy, but I think he's better at it, dealing with it, and masking it. Okay, and I think he masked it well in that moment. I think he was a little tired, but I don't think he was completely drained like the way he was in the Klitschko fight. But he recovered in that fight, and we went on to win the fight. Okay, but when he got back on, he took over, and the knockout was good. It was nice. He got the uppercut in there, hurt Pulev, dropped him in there hard, and then he finished him off with a big right hand. And I really like his counterpunch ability. I mean, again, talking about skill set here, we've seen AJ fight so many different styles throughout his career on a high level, on a very, very high level. Dominic Brazil, he beat Dominic Brazil. Yeah, it wasn't all that big of a fight, but if you look at the timing, you look at the fact that Brazil was undefeated. You look at Charles Martin. You look at Dillian White. A lot of these fighters were undefeated at the time. You look at Povetkin, how he changed his style in that fight. You look at the Andy Ruiz rematch, how he changed his style again for that fight. He changes his style with every single opponent. So this is why I say, when people talk about his skill set, yeah, you might think Fury overall is better, and that's fair, and that's fine. All right, but you cannot say that AJ got tools. He's not far off, and he actually does have some advantages over Fury. And I don't know what's up with this chin thing. Like, I said this in the live commentary that I did. I think a lot of people point at the sparring rumors when it comes to AJ's chin. AJ hasn't been hurt any more than any other top heavyweight that's out there. Whether you're naming Fury, Wilder, White, Povetkin, Klitschko, he hasn't been hurt in a professional fight more than any of these guys. Hurt and knocked down more than any. Ruiz knocked him down, stopped him, okay? Beats him in a rematch. All right? Klitschko did knock him down. But he got knocked down by Vladimir Klitschko. Did he even have 20 pro fights at that time? You know what I'm saying? Did he even have 20 professional fights at that time? And now I know Fury didn't get knocked down, but what did we see from Klitschko in that fight? Did he even try to fight aggressively at all in that fight? No, he didn't. Again, the amount of times that Joshua has been hurt in the ring as a professional is not much. And I don't think it's any more than any of these other top guys. Wilder has been hurt countless times. He's been down and he's been hurt countless times. Fury's been knocked down how many times? So I don't know what the chin thing. I don't know why people keep saying that he's chinny. I think people hear it. And I think when you hear it enough times, you start believing it. And I think also the sparring stories has a lot to do with it. So, I think David Price, somebody brought up David Price. David Price is a guy that is chinny. As a heavyweight, he's chinny. He's a guy that's been knocked out just about every time he lost. Got knocked out. And wasn't against the very best in the division. You know what I'm saying? So, I don't know. I don't know why we got to keep that going, But anyway, very good performance by Anthony Joshua. Good boxing, good counters. All right, solid all around the board to me. I really don't have any, unless I started to really nitpick about things, I really don't have any complaints with AJ. I really don't. I think he is who he is. I would love to see him fight Tyson Fury. Hopefully the fight can happen. I know Bob Arum said he's going to start working on making that fight happening after this weekend. So hopefully we can get that fight. Some people want the Usyk fight. I know these guys want to make Undisputed a priority. I would love it for it to be an undisputed fight between him and Fury. But I want the fight more than it being undisputed. I know calling it, naming it undisputed makes it a bigger fight, okay? But I would just like the fight to occur. It's still the biggest fight in British and UK history, all right? The biggest heavyweight fight in their history. So that would be big for them, but it would be big for boxing, period. Because those two guys are the top two guys in the heavyweight division right now. And I want to see them fight each other, all right? Before we have any more hiccups or anything like that. I want to see they're both proven as heavyweights. Usyk is cool. He deserves a shot. I'm not saying he doesn't. But personally, I prefer Fury and Joshua to fight right now. Okay? It's no different from the welterweight division. I see it the same way. You know, when it comes to Spence and Bud. You know, but we'll see what happens. Is he gonna fight his mandatory Alexander Usyk next, or is it gonna be Tyson Fury? Hopefully, if it's not Fury, hopefully it is Usyk. All right, but hopefully it's one of those two. But I would really prefer Tyson Fury. Let's make that fight happen right now. And if he has to vacate that title, vacate it, and the winner or fight Usyk later. You know, go back and get that belt later. But it's really hard. It's going to be really, really hard to fight undisputed because there's always going to be mandatory obligations. And even if you win and become undisputed, it's going to be hard to defend the undisputed titles because you're going to always have mandatory obligations. And then you're going to have fighters that people want to see you fight. You know, so it's always going to be an issue when it comes to holding. It's too many belts. It's 4 belts. You know, it's too much going on. All right. And most of these fighters only fight twice a year. You know. So anyway, that's what I would like. And good win for AJ. And I think that's really pretty much it. You know, who wins between him and Fury? I don't know. It's definitely a 50-50. But I was always leaning towards Anthony Joshua. But I'll speak more on that in a separate video. I would like to definitely break that down in the near future. But I also, you know, and you know what? Listen, I'm an AJ fan, but I would still love to see him fight Wilder at some point. I would still love to see that fight. I still love to see it. I'm not even like that. I'm not even like that kind of fan. Like, even if Wilder didn't have a belt, I would still love to see that fight. You know? All right. Anyway, I'm going to leave it at that, man. Got some more videos to talk about it. Thank you again for anyone that joined us last night. Live commentary was dope. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.